his computer, put it on Facebook. It gives it a second to go live. Once you see it on the page, then we should be good. Okay. See the page. Okay, we are live. Yes, we are. And I've listen, guys, I got a great interview for you today. This is Docg Presents, and of course, I'm Docg, Hamilton Radio. I have a great friend who is an artist who's been my friend for a while now, but you'll remember him from the Joe Jackson Band and many other accomplishments he's done over the years. I want to welcome our good friend, Vinnie Zummo.
Hey, Gene, how you doing?
What a pleasure it is to finally actually meet you and, in a way, talk to you.
Kind of meet you.
Kind of meet you. I meant to come to so many events that you asked me to come to.
It's hard. I know it's hard for people to come.
It's hard because when you have kids that are like young and, you know, they're growing, got to be there for every event, you know?
Yeah, I know. I understand it.
But anyway, let's talk about your history. How did you get involved, first of all, in music? What was it that drew you to music?
Well, my father was a musician part-time, and everybody played in my family. My two sisters, we all played accordion, me and my two sisters, and we used to play together and sing together. We could do harmony without practicing. We'd all go to our parts. It was like a natural thing. And music was so strong in my house. I can remember, my earliest memory is being in a crib, watching my father and his friends playing and dying that I couldn't be part of it. I couldn't wait till I was old enough to start music, and they started me on accordion. And from there, of course, when the Beatles hit, accordion went in the closet. I grabbed Dad's guitar and never looked back, you know.
Wow, that's really cool. So, yeah, go ahead.
I used to learn each part of each Beatles song, every album. Drums, rhythm guitar, lead, whatever keyboards there were. And that was kind of like my school, you know, until I got older and found proper guitar teachers. But I'm self-taught largely. So always been music 24/7 from 5 on. Never been anything else.
So let me ask you this. Your Beatle influence is there. I can hear that. Is it early Beatles, middle Beatles, or later Beatles, or all?
It's all Beatles. Have you ever heard, there's that other song I did, Can't You See, which is very much like a Help era song.
Yes.
There's that, then the other stuff is more Sgt. Pepper-ish or Revolver-ish. I kind of, if you listen closely to my songs, I quote from every part of their, I don't know what you want to say, their library.
Right.
They do have a library of, it's an amazing accomplishment what they did. If you just think of the sheer number of songs and how much of it is good as opposed to how much of it that didn't get released was not good, you know.
I like the obscure songs more than others.
Yeah. I like them all.
I like them all too, but I mean, there's certain ones that I have like my favorites. Like, You Don't Know My Name, look up the number.
You ever hear the whole version?
The full version.
Like 20 minutes?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like, I can't, it's too much for me. I'm a Beatles fan, but I'm not that much of a Beatles fan.
Right. And that's the way I am too. That's why I can't listen to a Beatles program that's more than a few hours.
They are the only band, I have to say.
Them all day long, separate.
I have to say, they are the only band that I will hear a song and say, God, I forgot about that one. And it's an incredible song.
Yeah.
They have so many like that. And it's really a large body of work. I think that even they are impressed. When you hear McCartney talk, they always talk about it like it's somebody else. It was like the Beatles. It doesn't quite seem real to him. I've heard him say that. He says, it's hard to believe I was part of that. Because I guess you just go with the momentum when you're doing it. Right. And then when it was all over and they sit and think about it, I mean, they probably have some great road stories, right?
I'm sure they do. I'm
Did you
sure.
ever see the anthology when they all came over to Paul's house to record? And Paul had pictures from the early days in Germany, and they were talking about the woman's legs, and George saying, "Oh, she's got pimples and stuff," and McCartney like shut him down because they were getting into the the band talking about the girls thing.
Right, 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 right.
McCartney was like, I kind of like that, and then they just kind of shut it down. George was like, later, It's funny. They must have been really sick of each other though after all that, right?
You go through a lot.
God,
You've been
can't
on
imagine.
the road and everything. You're tired. Look at you. You're with the Joe Jackson band. I mean, were you with the Look Sharp album, the first
No,
album?
no, no, no. I was from
Oh, yeah.
Body and Soul, Big World, Blaze of Glory, Tucker.
Wow.
Yeah, I did 6 albums,
I think
seven albums, 7 years, 6 albums, and 3 world tours.
so when you came in was after his first hit,
It was after Stepping Out.
after Stepping Out.
His big hit. It
Oh.
was after his big hit.
Yeah, they were all big hits.
So everybody thought he was going to do more like that, and he just went into something completely new. So he didn't really go over the hump with the momentum, where ordinarily someone would record something else that was like Stepping Out. He didn't do that. He keeps growing. And I was on You Can't Get What You Want to You Know What You Want, which I think was his last hit.
Wow. Do you ever talk to him, or you ever haven't seen him, talk to him for a long time, or what?
Yeah, we've talked.
Okay.
I will just say I don't think he will be calling me to do the band again.
Okay.
Doesn't go back. Like, we go on and off,
It's okay.
We were very close, with the family. We used to go out with the 2 wives a lot, actually. 2-3 times a week we see him and his wife, whichever wife it was. There's been a few. And he's kind of mercurial. He's a genius. They tend to be a little odd.
Yeah, they sure do.
And
They are.
we have certain things we disagree on, and it usually flares up into something. But I like him. I miss working with him because I like the challenge of bringing everything I know to the table. He's one of the few people that would actually use my talents,
And you're so talented, Vinnie.
Oh, thank you.
You're so talented.
I would love to produce him, but he would never see that. He would never see me in that light. I would love to produce an album by him. He needs, in my opinion, a strong producer would be good, but he doesn't allow that. He always has the hands on. So it's tricky,
So let's go through some of the albums that you did. I mean, the first album that was tremendous.
Body and Soul.
Yeah.
Oh, my album.
Your album.
My album. Thank you. Everybody wants to talk about his music.
You, my friend, you.
The first Swinging Guitar Sounds of Young America, Volume 1, I did purely to escape grief. I went through a period where we lost my older sister to cancer. We lost my father to cancer a little while later, all within a 1.5, 2-year period, and then my mom. And then my mentor, Uncle Tony, who taught me how to play the accordion, wasn't a blood uncle, but was more than a blood uncle. He was a second father. There was 4 of them in a row, and I just said, I got to do something. I can't sit around crying. So I said, why don't I do an album? I always said I wanted to do an album of solo material. I've had the things with Janice. We were the Zummos in the 80s. We had the A&M album. But I said, I want to do something of my own. I called in a lot of chips, a lot of markers, and people came in. Like Will Lee came in to sing. Frank Agnello from the Fab Four came in to sing. Joy Askew from Joe Jackson. Joe himself. I actually got him to come out of the house and come to my session and play some organ on a song that we weren't allowed to rehearse. I just talked it down, 1 take, and it was great.
Really cool.
Yeah, so it lifted me out of the funk, and I really got addicted to making the tracks myself. And people liked it. They seemed to like my singing. So that led to Swinging Guitar Sounds Volume 2, and then Volume 3, which is the one that has Play Paul McCartney and George Harrison song. And then from there, I did my last album is The Coyote. That's a jazz-oriented album where my solos are fleshed out for 4 saxophones.
Oh, nice.
It's very heady stuff. It's direct opposite of Swinging Guitar Sounds. And I have the Christmas albums I do, too.
I love them.
Thank you. Most people do.
Yeah, I really love them. They're so good.
And we had a children's album that did amazingly well, me and Janice, a while back. Maybe I will re-release it. I don't know. but there was a problem with the guy who helped finance it, so I just shut it down. But we were on our third or fourth printing. We were selling it. We were in a line of stores. It was like jazz-oriented versions of children's songs. So it wasn't like an idiot, you know, kind of like, I don't want to insult anyone. It wasn't simplistic. We took children's songs and gave them nice arrangements so the parents could enjoy hearing it as well as the kids.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And we did very well with it, but I had to shut it down. It was getting to be a source of a lot of grief. But now I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, it might be time to resurrect it. You know?
Time. Yeah, absolutely. You never know.
Well, sadly, the guy who was my partner, the business partner, passed away. I heard from his wife recently. I did not know he passed away. So we were talking about maybe re-releasing it because it's just too good to let it sit there. Parents actually used to send me letters thanking me for giving them something they could play for their kids that wasn't idiot music. You know, fairly sophisticated, but not enough to turn the kids off. So we always got something going on here, you know?
I love that about you because as an artist, you're never afraid to explore other territories or other music ideologies or different rhythms, different sounds, different chords. I love that because
I'm glad you do. That's the thing that holds me back. You know, most people want you in a little box.
I don't want
They
you
don't like you moving from that box. In my session career, in the 90s, like I was doing 3 to 4 sessions a day, albums, jingles. I was in the studios all day long doing them. And it was ironic because I'd have one house, a music house, that would hire me to play rock and roll. Another one knew me as a country specialist. Another one as a metal guy. So I'd have these specialties in each music house. It was very funny. You know, they never put it together that one person could do all of it. They don't think that way.
I know.
You know? And jazz community is very restrictive in New York. If you don't play a certain kind of jazz guitar with a big instrument, which I can play what they want to hear, but it's not what I want to play.
Right.
I have a different take on my Bach playing is very different than other people because I don't listen to jazz guitarists. Never did. I like Charlie Parker. I'm a bird freak. That's my thing. And piano trios, jazz piano trios, my favorite thing to go hear. If
That's
it's a
awesome.
good piano trio, I could sit there all night, not say a word. So
Get lost right in the chords and everything that they do.
I am eclectic. It really is the way I work. I don't like to do one thing. You know, I get bored really easy. It's music. It's if you have the ability to go different places with it, it's like having a free passport and free airfare to go everywhere, and you don't go.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And these days with COVID and everything, you know, we were talking earlier, it kind of limits your, you know, ability to do anything. And now, you know, of course,
Yeah.
certain.
And it was limiting itself anyway. I mean, it's a very small scene in New York City, very closed shop. Same few guitarists get all the work. It's just the way it is. And I'm trying to get established in the jazz world. And it hasn't been easy, but I'm doing it a little at a time. I just have to shift. It's time to shift the career in that direction. You know, a little old for rock and roll.
And I like the fact too that you combined your wife Janice in a lot of the songs. Like let's take Sunday Supper for example. I love it.
Yeah, that was fun to do. I like doing something being brought in on a project and saying you have to do this for this. I like having a goal. That's from writing jingles and stuff. You know, usually have like an hour to get something written. So I learned to really write stuff quickly. Like you could say, write me a Beatles song. I could sit down with a piece of music paper and write you a Beatles song. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. That's the way it's always been.
Wow.
And I cannot do it with an instrument in my hands. I cannot write a song with an instrument. Never could. The only way I could write a song is from my head onto music paper.
Wow.
It's weird because I learned to read music late in my 20s because I had to. I was doing sessions and I couldn't read. So I went to the wonderful Barry Galbraith, who had me reading within a month. He was a wonderful teacher. And that opened up a whole other world. I try to tell the kids that I mentor, there's something about taking a pen and a piece of music paper and writing the notes out. They get in your brain. They do not get in your brain if you type it into a computer. I've tried both ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about paper and pen. It's an old system for a reason. You know, it's just a direct flow of the ideas into your hand. Right. But people think I'm crazy. Like if they want to get together and write, say, oh, we'll get some guitars. And it's like, don't get some guitars, please. I don't want to hear someone strumming a guitar, ever. You know, I like to write in my head. That's the way it works for me. I don't know why. It's a very strange way to go about things, but I have an imagination.
Well, music brings people together. It really does. It brings a lot of people.
Yeah, but it can also pull
You
them
know, also
apart.
right. There's another factor there. That
I
right.
ever get into who I don't like on Facebook. Once in a while, I slip. There are a few major artists that are revered in the United States that I could not stand and could never stand.
Well,
But I've learned not to say it anymore because the grief on Facebook was
oh
unbelievable.
yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't
I
agree.
also learned don't put down an artist on the day they die. That's something I learned. I never realized it's in poor taste to rip someone apart when they just passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't believe I had to learn that. It never occurred to me that it might not be a good idea on a public forum to waste a beloved American music hero, you know. But it's a funny thing, music. It brings out the best and the worst in people, musicians.
Yeah, it does.
I could tell you some stuff. I've seen guys just out and out lie without breaking a smile. Just lie to the leader's face about something that happened within a band or something. I'm incapable of lying. It's actually held my career back. I got too much that thing of like I want to say what I really feel.
You're real
I've
honest. You're
learned
honest.
to shut it down.
Yeah.
You know, musicians are odd too. I've worked for a few names other than Joe. There's some weird stuff goes down. You know, some ego stuff where like you can't talk till they talk, and oh, I wish I can't see. I can't tell you stories.
Oh, Vinny, I just gotta say, Deborah says hi. She's in the chat room in Facebook.
Hi, Deb. I don't know
She
where
wanted
she
to come in
is.
here and say hi to you. You know, visual, but just not.
Are we going to see her on Zoom or no?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Right now, I asked you any questions. Joni Brown says hi. All your
Hi.
fans are out there saying hi.
Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, they're checking it out, listening. Thanks, guys. We appreciate your input. Any questions? If you want me to ask Vinny anything, let me know. Just type it in, and I'm watching. It's like you gotta watch like everything. Like, over this
Juggling.
side and the phone sometimes, and he's like, just so much stuff to input in your brain.
Yeah. Well, this is life now.
It's
What
crazy.
we wanted.
I don't know if I wanted this. Listen, me and my wife, we just had our patio done outside. And we haven't had a patio, never had a patio for 20 some years. So I talked her into getting a patio. And we've been out there every night, just to listen or watch the sky and listen. See, that's what I like. I don't need the phone. I don't need the TV. I don't need any of that. My input is the universe, the people around me.
No, I like fake.
Oh,
I like TV. I like air conditioning. I like fake lighting. I'll go out once in a while. I live across the street from a park. So I like looking at it while I'm working, but I'd rather be sitting in the house in front of a TV or a computer. That's how I am.
I'm just so sick of the things. So I'm just trying to, break it up and just like.
Well, I'm sick of me. That's the only thing I'm sick of. I don't know how my wife is dealing with me 24 hours a day. I have trouble dealing with me.
Yeah, and you
Me
guys
and me don't get along.
And you guys have regular jobs too.
I don't know. I do music. I do cyber sessions for people. That's how I survive.
Let's talk about your hip hop. You were talking about that earlier. That was really, now that's another endeavor. Again, what I like about you, you're never afraid to go outside the box.
Well, that's a funny story. I bought way back when they first started selling CDs of loops for people to put in their DAWs and loop around and play with. And I got one from this guy in Long Island. And I said, "Oh, this stuff is good. Would you ever want to do a guitar one?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You familiar with hip hop?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a master of hip hop." Hung up the phone, frantically bought a lot of hip hop albums, listened to YouTube. And I found like if I listened to it and analyzed the drum beat, I could make a variation of it. And I did a whole lot thing for him. And it was doing pretty good. And then he disappeared off the face of the earth. I don't know what happened to him. I didn't get royalties. I don't know if he's dead or alive. So I approached one of the major companies, Zero G. I said, "Would you take a guitar sample CD from someone?" And they said, "Not just guitars. If you would do drum loops, we'd do it." So they said, "You were familiar with making hip hop drum loops?" "Oh yeah, I'm an expert. I know all about it." So I hung up the phone frantically, again, bought a bunch of CDs, and I put the first one out, New York Cuts one. Then we did New York Cuts Off the Hook, I think. And then we did one was Sean Pelton, the great drummer from SNL, all drum loops for him, which was amazing. But unfortunately, it was released like the day after 9/11. And the cover was going to be the Statue of Liberty in the sand, like from Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't do that. We had to change the cover because it was disrespectful. We had to change the release. So it kind of got, it's a shame. It's an incredible collection. But because it happened when it happened, nobody bought it. And we weren't going to promote anything during that time, you know.
Right.
Like I'm going to tell people, everybody's sitting around crying. I say, buy hip hop drum loops. You know, I don't think that's going to make your life easier. And then after a while, we started again. And I did one for lounge music that I really loved, Cocktail Collection. It's like cheap Lawrence Welk music and stuff and how to make it, little loops and things. And then I went back to the hip hop with, God, I can't think of it, the last album. NYC Lit was. And now we're working on a new one. We're not sure of the title yet, but it's going great. They said the last one was not only good, it was the best hip hop they had ever put out. So that makes me feel good.
Vinny, you're like me. You know, we fall into good stuff sometimes. I mean, when I co-wrote a song called Bonfire, and I don't know if you ever, it's a country song. It's got a lot of country artists on it, but my author was actually a person that won Grammy Awards before. But this is my first song as a co-writer, and it was up for a Grammy Award. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know,
really, that's great.
Yeah, it was just for the inspiration of, I mean, that's every songwriter's desire to at least be nominated or thought of.
Yeah, I'd love it.
That would be, I mean, that's incredible, right? So, I mean, I fell into that, and I'm very happy about it. I don't want to talk about that too long, but give me a second.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good to hear.
The questions, I'm asking people to give me questions if they have any questions, because I like to include interactive with, you know, people. I always found out as a radio show person, you always want to try to include the audience to get involved if it's allowed. And a lot of times when you go see an artist perform or something like that, they'll take questions and they'll talk about different things and, you know,
right,
where the music is going, what they're doing, and like that. So I'm always offering it. So if you guys want to join us in the Zoom, I put the link out there. You guys can do that if you want to. You can also, I'll give you a phone number you can call if you want to call. We can talk that way. I will give you the number you can call, but just remember one thing, that I will not deal with people having issues. So if you have an issue, don't expect me to answer the phone. I'll leave that number at 609-585-0400 if you want to help talk to Vinny with me. If that's, you want to work, that's great. If not, that's fine. You just want to come in and say hi, you can say hi. But Vinnie Zummo is such an accomplished musician and artist. We were talking about the jazz community. We were talking about, and he likes, you know, Charlie Parker, and he was big in jazz, big jazz community person. Who could forget Birdland? I mean, like you said, he's just what a great artist. You know, did you ever think, Vinny, and this is going off, that some of these artists never got to the point where they really should have been, as far as people recognizing them? Yeah, they're recognized by their small community, but they were so much bigger than that.
Yeah, well, the problem with Charlie Parker is the heroin. You know, he had the heroin addict. He was actually addicted. I know people, one of my mentors, there was a trumpet player on Staten Island called Don Joseph. Amazing trumpet player.
Oh, yeah.
But not the way you know trumpet. This guy could play at a whisper. He could sit next to you and play the trumpet. You barely hear it. And he had false teeth, which you're not supposed to be able to play.
Right.
And he was a character. I mean, he was like, if you went out somewhere with him, you had to watch out because he'd say anything. You know, but he knew Bird well. In fact, he told me the last thing him and Bird did was go to a concert. And you know who they went to see? Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly. Oh, wow.
Bird loved Buddy Holly. Bird loved country music.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But by that point, I mean, if he liked heroin, but he also, if he had a drink, he had the whole bottle. If he had a chicken, he had several of them. He was a man of appetites, you know, and you never left your horn with him because he'd sell it. But he was, to a man, anyone I've ever met of the older generation, that sat in the room and heard him play said there was nothing like it. It was like you went to some other planet or something. It wasn't just like a good sax player. He went a whole, and it still sounds like that. When I hear the solos, I'm like, God, why am I even bothering? He already did it, you know? But yeah, I mean, if he had lived, no telling what he would have done. I mean, he would have embraced funk and everything, I think, you know? He was a wide open cat. And I heard some great stories that I can't repeat. But
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I come from country, actually. My father had a country western band.
Oh,
I played that music very early. I love it. I love the old traditional country, and I love western swing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I come from that.
oh, very cool.
Played a lot of that around the house, you know?
Oh, that's really cool. Well, you know what I noticed too is a lot of the musicians that have been prominent come out of the either Staten Island, Long Island, New York, New Jersey, the East.
Island. Island's a big thing, yeah.
I never knew that Liberty DeVito lived, was in Staten Island. I never knew that.
He's in Brooklyn, Liberty, no?
Well,
The
yeah,
Brooklyn guy.
yeah, Brooklyn guy. But I mean,
That's very
I
different.
talk to people, they say, "Oh, he was always playing in Staten Island." I'm like, I didn't know. How did I know?
Funny, I never ran into him. I come from Staten Island.
Well, before he was with Billy Joel,
Right.
and just tons of musicians that come out of your area. Would it be any wonder why they made it? Why they became big?
I don't know about Long Island, but sorry, I'm eating a cookie.
No, that's all right, man. You're okay.
Staten Island was like, it was a small music community. And within that, in fact, some of those guys never left the island, sadly. But within that, it was almost like a think tank for a lot of people, you know? We'd go see each other's gigs. We'd get together and play. I had a friend, John Trinacosta, had a house out in the woods. We'd play bebop for 5-6 hours, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. No complaints, because it's in the woods. So there was a thriving scene, and there was a thriving rock and roll scene as well. And they just kind of made it over the bridge into New York City, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's really awesome. Well, let's get back to your music, because this is what it's about, right?
It's always for me.
Albums that touched all different phases of different things. We were talking about, the Beatles and all that, but it seems like every album has its own unique way of putting your spin on whatever it is you were trying to accomplish.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
But I love that.
Miss that. Most people miss it. They just listen to a song and say, "Oh, you're ripping off John Lennon." No. I'm going in that area, but I always think that it's me. Yes, thank you. What was I going to say? I like to, there's a part in the writing, when I'm writing a song and when I'm recording it, where it can take a turn and go somewhere else. And I always make it a point to do that, because otherwise you're just miming, you're copying something.
Right.
I like when it gets into my head, like, oh, this is actually like something you wrote. Okay. And it can go, I'm doing that now. Thank you. I did a song that's kind of reminiscent of Steely Dan, but I'm at the point now with the overdubs where it's just taken a severe right turn.
Oh yeah, way too much in that. That's the other thing that my friend Phil Hatton says about Jeff Lynne. You can get overproduced so easily in any song because of the tools. It's hard to not know when to stop. How much harmony do you want? How much vocals do you want? How much music do you want in the background? And in the tune, repeating over and over again, the melody over and over again, because that's what you're hearing in the song. That's what you're remembering in your brain. See, what I said about you, I mean, I'm a good listener. So when I can hear what you're trying to portray to me, and not copy off anybody, but what you're trying to say through that person, through the music, is what I get from it. I don't know what anybody else gets from it, but that's what I get from it.
That's what I like people to get from it. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just think it's a ripoff. You're copying the Beatles. That's all that is. Or, oh yeah, you're playing like Jeff Beck. It's like, no, if you listen closely, there's always a little turn. It always goes somewhere. And by the time I get to the middle of recording an album, then I'm no longer in the homage thing. Then it's going off into my own. I think I've hit some like new areas on some of my albums too. There are some songs that are not like other songs, but people don't notice that. There's something about the listener. They really like to recognize your influence, and they love telling you about it. Like, oh yeah, no, you sound like Jeff Beck. Oh no, you sound like John Lennon. It's like, yeah, but listen a little closer. You got it. You heard it. You know what I'm doing.
I love it.
I'm borrowing it.
I love
You're
it.
not using it anymore. I'm borrowing it to see where I can take it.
And I love that. And you'll explore with that. You'll take that tune, change the rhythm, change the pitch, change the sound of it, or even keep it the same or a little lower or make it a little bit higher. And it just, to me, I'm like, yeah, I know that riff. Yeah, I know that sound. Yeah, I know what that is. And usually they say a true musician that is really somebody that has a good listening ear can hear them little different things. We can put them out of the background. Like if somebody uses a fire extinguisher for something as a sound effect, I'll pick that out and I'll say, yeah, do you hear that? It's like way in the background, but you can hear like that. And
well, I love serendipity. I like when stuff just kind of happens.
It falls together, right? It all falls together.
I was doing this one song, instrumental thing off the first album. And I have some friends in another city that I write music with sometimes, and they are very precise. If everything's clean, the drums are squeaky clean, I am not. And they said, you realize on this song you sent for me to put some synths on that you sneeze in the middle of the first drum fill? I said, yeah, but it's in time. So I left it. But you can't leave a sneeze in a song. Said, great, I sneezed in time. It's perfect. You don't know it's a sneeze. It's with the tom.
Right.
This appalled these guys. Some people have rules,
Yeah, some
producers
producers.
little boxes. I love when something like that happens.
Yeah, because it takes that track and it stamps it as a unique track that nobody else can do. Because it happened at that certain time at that certain place, and it evolved.
There's a story I read about Miles Davis. Herbie Hancock tells the story that during the gig, he played a wrong chord. Shit, I screwed up the song. I lost up Miles' song. And they get off the stage. They said, Miles, I'm really sorry for that chord. He goes, what are you kidding me? That's the hippest thing you played all night. He said, when you make a mistake, something like that, go with it. Don't think of it as a mistake. Repeat it. Do it again. And I learned a lot from that because I do that a lot. I'll take something. Say we're playing an F. I'll play the beginning of the solo in F sharp just to screw everybody around. I've seen the bandstand. Everybody turns their head like, what are you doing? It's like, it's a half step. Not going to hurt anybody. It's music. We're not like welding guns. It'll go back. You calm down. It'll go back to F. Everybody will be okay. It'll resolve itself. But people get weird, Music is I fight with so many people on Facebook about
other songwriters that don't agree with what you're doing to their song.
Oh, I know.
They think you're demolishing it. They think you're destroying the song. And you're like, no, I'm just trying to get it more people to understand it and like it. Because if it's got a switch of a sound or a rhythm or something in the middle of it or near the end, that's what brings me in. I mean, I really love that. I love the idea of the artist expression. It changes near the end or the middle of the song, or sometimes at the beginning, or they change the intro. They'll do a melodic intro and then they'll do singing, or vice versa. I mean, I know DJs hate that, because if you start singing at the beginning of a song, they can't talk over you. They really hate that.
Right.
That I know.
Well, people, they have a problem with anything that's a tonal. Two of the biggest arguments I find myself in on Facebook is, one, Yoko Ono, two, Kanye West. Yoko Ono is not everyone's cup of tea, but it's valid. It's different. Nothing wrong with it. It's not hurting anybody.
Right.
It's not Yesterday. It's not I Will. It's something different. It's like a palate cleanser. You listen to some of that, then you listen to a pop song. There's contrast. You need both. And Kanye West is a brilliant producer of hip hop. He shouldn't rap and he shouldn't talk. But aside from that, if they could keep him in a room somewhere and just let him keep making, he makes brilliant hip hop tracks. I mean, some of the most creative stuff since Sgt. Pepper. There's textures, and I don't know if he does it or if he has a team of people that do it, which is often the case in hip hop. But why are they so threatened? Just because he's not, I don't want to hear him ever speak or say anything. I don't agree with any opinion he's ever had.
Right.
I wish he wouldn't rap either. He's not the greatest rapper. But you put him with a good rapper, and man, he can cut that stuff up. You ever hear the story with him working with McCartney?
Yeah, they did a song together.
Kinda.
Yeah.
He said, Paul, send me something. Paul sent him something. He says he sends it back, and I don't hear my track. I hear like a little mosquito singing. And he says, that's you. He like cut out, he took the guitar, kept it, took out all the vocals except for one line, and he sped it up twice the speed. And he says, that's you. And Paul says, I guess that's me. But Paul was okay with it. Why aren't his fans okay with it if he's okay with it, you know?
McCartney, here's an example, right? McCartney, over the years, you're going from the Ram album, Band of the Run, all them great albums, Vinny, right? And he goes to an elusive press to play, which is more of acoustic sounding. But I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, but a lot of the songs that he did later on, to some people, weren't as good as the original ones he did. So I gotta give him credit for it, whether I like it or not. I mean, his last Egypt album was fantastic. I don't know anybody I didn't hear.
I like some of it.
Compared to the stuff he's done before that,
I just wish he'd take some singing lessons, you know? There's no reason for him to be losing his voice. You ever hear Tony Bennett sing?
Yeah.
Tony Bennett takes a lesson every week. He's 92. He takes a singing lesson every week. That's why he has his voice.
He sounds amazing.
Mick Jagger takes singing lessons. He has a warm-up. I know for my wife, if you're a singer and you want any kind of longevity in your career, you do warm-ups.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And McCartney's of that school. He doesn't want to learn to read music. He doesn't want to touch. He's afraid he's going to break the voodoo. I had to break it to him. He could not write a song. The man, he has melody. That's his gift. If he learns to write it out on a piece of paper, he's not going to lose the gift. He's going to write twice as many. But I don't know him, and he's very successful, so he doesn't need my advice, right?
Yeah, he sure doesn't need
I love the Chaos and Creation album. That album blew. That was like, wow, he still has it when he's pushed. You know, because he had a producer that challenged him.
Right.
You know, but the fact that he's doing anything, it's amazing. He doesn't have to do anything. He's proven himself already.
Over and over and over.
He passed the audition, but he's that kind of cat. He's not. What did I read in an interview? He just says, I always think that they're going to find out I'm a fraud. You know, and it's like, no, you're not a fraud. You know how to write a song, you know? You know how to entertain? Many years ago, they asked Bing Crosby, what do you think of the Beatles? He goes, yeah, I like the Beatles. He goes, but McCartney, he's going to last. He said, mark my words. Out of all of them, he will have a career till he's in his old age. He said, that guy has something. That's smart. Bing Crosby was smart, right? He knew.
He did.
So the longevity.
Yeah.
I like to meet Paul. I never met him. I met George. I was in a room with John. But I never met Ringo, and I never met Paul.
I heard Paul McCartney's always up North Jersey. I always see things up. He's there in North Jersey. Always in North Jersey.
That in the Hamptons. Got a house in the Hamptons. Well, he married a woman who has a house in the Hamptons. So
oh, yeah, he's in the Hamptons. Okay.
Yeah. I admire him, you know. Well, a friend of mine met him and said, he tries awfully hard to be a nice guy. I thought that was a great comment, you know, because no way guys like that could be normal. They did not have the life you and me had at all. It's a very different life. We have no idea what it was for them, you know. Yeah. Only person that knows what it was for him is Ringo.
Yeah, and you're out touring. I try to tell people all the time, listen, you don't understand the extreme stress and pressure that it takes for a musician, any artist, to be out on the road, away from your family, almost all the time on tour, and after a while, you realize, your kids are growing up around you. You don't need to see them. You can talk to them. Now you can Zoom with them, but it's not the same as being there with them and just watching them grow.
The funny thing about on the road, anything somebody does by like the 4th month in, if they're in the habit of picking their teeth or clearing their throat, by the end of like 4 months, you want to kill them when you hear it. Because it's every day. You're eating dinner with the same people every day. You're on stage with them. After the gig, what are you going to do? You go to the bar. There's nothing else to do. And you're with your friend. And we were lucky with Joe. you know, most of the band on Body and Soul was from Staten Island, all guys I grew up with. So we had like a ball on the road. And by a ball, I mean, most of us were married, so we'd sit and play backgammon and sip cognac. One day we did a TV show with Duran Duran, and they walked past our dressing room. We're in our tuxedos, sipping tea and playing backgammon, and they were horrified. They told the guys from the show they wanted to seat us next to them. They said, absolutely not. We will not seat next to them. They're in there playing backgammon in tuxedos. They found this appalling. I thought it was hysterical. I thought it was very funny, but it was great. We had a good time. It's like you were out with your friends having dinner every night.
Yeah.
And I hung out with Joe a lot. It was Joe and the keyboard player, Ed. He's the one who got me the gig. So the three of us were pretty inseparable on the road. Next door was the trio, and I had health problems. That's why I had to leave early. And it's kind of what stalled my career. And I was not in the best frame of mind for the Big World tour.
Oh, wow.
And I left at a certain point. But that wasn't the same kind of camaraderie because that was only three people. But it was great. I mean, Gary Burke, to this day, we email each other like 3-4 times a week. We discuss drummers because he knows everything about the history of drums. So him, I stay in touch with him, and Graham maybe once in a while, but it's hard. You do get sick of people on the road, you know?
I know. Believe me, we went to the Stone Pony in New Jersey.
Yeah, I played there with Joe.
Right. East, it's an East
Felt great.
place. It's a small place. It's not big.
But it's good. It's a good place.
We were invited VIP, and we went in the back, and it was a smaller band, but you know, they were invited us in, and we like, you know, you've got salad over here, you've got donuts over there, your wife and your kids are over there. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, while we're getting ready for going to gig, and then we met Eddie Money on tour. And I got to say, what a great guy.
I heard that. He was a cop, you know.
Yeah, he was. He was such a great guy, and he was. You know, he was touring in Atlantic City at the time. We were at one in Wildwood. Was Atlantic City and Wildwood. He was back and forth. But he invited us back. We got pictures taken with him. He did a couple of things for me. And he was such a sweet, nice guy. And we were the last ones to talk to him. And he spent the most time talking to me and my wife. And you know, the first thing he asked me, he says, "Are you taking care of your wife?" I said, "I do." And then he went over to her and he says, "Is he taking care of you? Because if he's not, I'll kick him to the curb." But he was super nice. He's like, you know, dude, I'm only kidding.
You remind me of a great story. You know Sandy Gennaro, the drummer?
I'm getting him next. I'm waiting for him to come back to me. Yeah, I'm going to interview him.
He told me a story about the Monkees. I like the Monkees. I've always liked the Monkees.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Makes me unpopular with my friends, but I've always liked the Monkees.
Right.
I actually like Mickey Dolenz drumming, too. That nobody likes it but me. It's an acquired. I like guys who could barely make it. So I always like Ringo. You always cheered for Ringo because he was barely making it out of the fill, you know, on time.
Oh, yeah.
But I heard a story. Sandy told us he was working with the Monkees and they had a weekend off in New York. And he said to Davy Jones, "What are you going to do? You're stuck here." He goes, "I got nothing to do." And he said, "I know. Why don't you come out to my house in Staten Island? Stay for the weekend. Meet my wife and kids. We'll have dinner and stuff." So they get there and he's talking to the wife. They're having dinner, they're having a great time. And Davey says, "That's a nice space you have at the backyard there." And the wife says, "Yeah, you know, I want him to build like a stone barbecue oven and landscape it a bit. I'd like to fix up the backyard." And Davy Jones turns to Sandy, yells at him. He goes, "This is your wife. She raises your kids. She cooks your meals. We're building her a backyard." So they spent the weekend making a barbecue pit and landscaping the backyard. Davy Jones in Staten Island, lifting bags of cement. And Sandy said he had the time of his life. He loved it, Davy.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's not something Joe would do. Not in a million years, you know? Not saying it's wrong or right, just two very different people.
Yeah.
I always liked that story. I said, like, well, that's a good guy.
And Sandy, you know, me and Sandy were talking too about the fills that Ringo came up with.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody I know that come up with all them drum fills that were in the right timing, the right, you know, moment, and just to sound perfect. I mean,
well, the other thing is, you listen to a record now, 9 times out of 10, there'll be a Ringo drum fill in there or a Ringo backbeat. If it's a ballad, they're playing a Ringo backbeat. things he invented and perfected. It's still in the music. Oh, hold on a second.
That's
You
right.
okay? You okay?
I know.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, she spilled coffee. That's not an emergency.
Okay. All right. You guys are okay. I just want to.
Yeah, well, my wife, it's hard to tell the difference between spilling coffee and crashing the car. She likes her coffee. All right, so where were we?
Talking about Ringo's fills.
Right. Yeah, great. And you know what? He's playing better now than he did with the Beatles. The last few things I've heard him on, he's on fire. Someone taught him something. He has actual drummer chops now. He can play a 30-second note roll. I heard him do some independence exercises online. It's like, wait a minute. Someone's teaching him or something. He's really playing good. Amazing, you know?
Oh, that's awesome.
And
So
the V drums. He plays V drums a lot, electric drums.
yeah, I know he does. I have a lot of
It's a good
friends that do
feel.
that too. They go out and play
Yeah,
electric.
it's a good feel on V drum. I'm sorry, I'll go on to Ringo all day. Don't get me started on Ringo. I'm a big
No. Ringo. Hey, listen, Ringo is one of them guys in the band that they never thought he was going to have songs that were people
Yeah.
liked, right? They
Yeah.
thought he could only do a little bit. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like if you compare the Beatles to the Monkees. People do this all the time. Well, the Monkees weren't real musicians. Oh, yes, they were.
They just were chosen.
Right.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, well, no, that's not true. I said, yeah, that is true. The Beatles were real musicians, but the Beatles, even them, they started playing covers on songs in early albums. People are like, no, they did that. No, listen to the other person's version of that.
Yeah.
And then you could say, you
Mostly
know,
covers.
right, mostly covers. But they didn't have a problem getting out because they had a good producer, had a good promoter, right? That's all a music artist needs is a good promoter and a good artist that work together.
The thing with the Monkees that I always respected, and people put them down, but at the peak of their popularity, they demanded that they play their own instruments and they write their own music and they pick whatever songs. I don't know any band that would do that when they're making it big. They're getting these $750,000 royalty checks, and they stop the whole machinery to express themselves. I don't know anybody who would do that. Put their money on the line.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then they went right down, of course. But you know, they've had careers. They've been doing it so long that yeah, they are a touring band. They are musicians. You know, maybe he wasn't a drummer, but I was always impressed that he had to learn to play drums for the gig. And he made an album playing drums, the Headquarters album. It's not the best drummer in the world. It's not the worst, though. I don't know any beginner drummers that will go in a studio and make an album. You know, it's pieced together. There's a lot of edit work. I've heard the instrumental versions. Have you ever heard Headquarters without just the rough tracks?
No.
It's rough. The guy did some really good editing, you know, but I admire them, and they're still out there doing it. It's not the greatest songs, but they write. And Nesmith's great. I love Mike Nesmith.
Yeah, he's a good.
He won a great American original.
We met Peter Tork a couple of years ago.
Oh, you did?
And my wife, and here's the funny thing about Davy Jones is my wife's friends with his daughter that runs an equestrian thing for horses.
Right, he was big in horses, yeah.
Yeah, and she donates to him every year, and you know tries to keep Davy, you know, through the horses alive that way. But I think that's beautiful. If you can find another charity that something happens to, like something happens to me, I told my wife, just give it to the homeless people, to stable vets or whatever. I don't care. I just want people to be happy.
I have a list that whenever I have a medical procedure done or something, I show Janice where it is of who I want to get what guitar.
Oh, really?
Certain ones will be sold. Certain ones will be given to certain people that really went above and beyond, help me with my music. Because they're not going to do me any good, right?
Right.
You know,
and you can't bury him because, I mean, you bury him, the guitar is still going to be there.
people act like you can, but I don't know. It's a strange world.
So, Vinny, what do you got? What kind of guitars you got? Tell me.
Well, I'm big on the
What's your favorite one?
Steinbergers. You know,
It's probably all favorite, right?
no, the Steinbergers are my favorite. You know, like without the headstock. I love these. I have a few of these. I have a couple of. I'm not a big Strat guy like everybody. I have a Gretsch that I love. I use the Gretsch on a lot of the Beatles sounding stuff, and the also SG-2000 Yamaha. That's my Beatle machine. For some reason, it sounds just like them when I plug it in. But aside from that, not too many, and I don't like that many. I'm not a big acoustic guitar fan, but I have some nice ones. And I do play, when I have to play acoustic, I play it, but it's not a choice. I'm not a guy you'll see picking up the guitar and strumming around the house. I'm like an anti-strum guy, you know. I'm very peculiar with the guitar. I don't listen to guitar. I don't listen to any guitar players. Because I find if I listen to them, then you start to sound like them, you know?
Oh yeah, sure.
And I want to sound like myself, but I still have that initial love, though, of putting in like 4 hours, 6 hours a day playing. I love improving my playing and soloing. I just love sitting there and doing that while looking at some bad TV. It's what I do most of the time.
What's your favorite TV show? What do you watch?
I watch
Old
pretty much
shows or new shows or what?
everything. I love Columbo. I'm hooked. And we have the ritual of looking at Perry Mason. I get a kick out of that. Because the backstory is so interesting that they were really actually friends.
Yeah.
They'd all go out to dinner after the shows.
Yeah. And
when the one guy was dying, Hamilton Berger was dying of throat cancer, lung cancer, Raymond Burr went to be with him when he shot the public service. I think it's really nice to see people who are friends act. And they also, what I like about it, the writer, Earl Stanley Gardner, his wife was a casting director, and she used all older actors from radio so they'd get a check. So if you look at Perry Mason, you'll see a judge in his 80s. The police detective chief, he had to be 75. Easily.
Right.
Really walk into the sets. And I say, God bless them. You know, they saw the frivolity of TV and said, we could do some good here. Give these people some work, keep their SAG insurance up. I like that. I like that backstory. And he was a great actor, I think.
Well, a lot of the sitcoms, I think, from Norman Lear.
Oh yeah, that stuff holds up.
He did that too, and I know that the Odd Couple, which was filmed with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman in New York. There, they did the same thing. They made a lot of cameos for a lot of people. Like Roy Clark was on a couple episodes.
Right.
And by the way,
I used to watch it.
One of the best guitarists, right? I mean, the guy could just make it sing, type of thing.
Roy Clark is Roy Clark. Let's leave it there. Not my choice. Bit of a ham.
Yeah, no,
he lived on Staten Island for a time. Did you know that?
Was that?
He lived in Staten Island for a few years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Coming up, yeah.
All right.
Joan Baez came from Staten Island.
Joan Baez, yeah, that's right.
Weird. No, but he lived there for a period of time before he made it. Yeah, Roy Clark's got something. It's just guys like that. I always would like to wonder if they took it the extra yard instead of just relying on what they knew. The only guitarist I've ever heard that could just rely on their natural ability without advancing was Glenn Campbell. He seemed to have that intact where he could play a perfect solo. It just was something he did. They said even when he lost his mind, for a while there, you could put a guitar in his hand and he'd burn out a solo. And it doesn't always work for people. Most people, unless they practice and advance, it starts to get a little sloppy, like Roy Clark or something. Not to criticize him. He's a great guitarist.
No, I get what you're saying.
But Glenn did the same thing and never missed a note. I'm sure he did in the end, but it just seemed to, like, guitar was no big deal for him. He just seemed to be able to pick it up and play.
But again, his background was with the Wrecking Crew. I mean, he was
before then. He's one of those guys could pick up a guitar and play. It happens.
Yeah, and really awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that he went out. You know, he was still performing, still touring right up till probably the last year, you know. And he could still do the songs. It was weird. He could play them. Then once in a while he'd want to repeat the song, but kind of a sad thing, all in all, you know. You don't want to go out that way.
Is any of your music that you ever hoped that would be on a soundtrack of a movie, a famous movie, or maybe a TV pilot or a TV show?
Well, I've had quite a bit of music on TV.
So let's talk about it.
I used to write for Guiding Light. Whenever they had a club scene, they were in a club, I'd write sound-alike music, which also helped me with my swinging guitar sound album.
I didn't know that about you. So I'm learning.
Yeah, I write on demand. Years ago, I wrote for Jingle House. And I said, how do we, like, if we have a deadline, how do you know you're going to be able to write something? He says, just tell yourself you could write it. Sit down and write it. And ever since then, it's like, oh, all right, I want to write something. I sit down and write something. I could write you, if you said right now, write me a polka about my radio show that goes into a Santana field, I would do that. I once did a Chicago to Santana thing for a commercial.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I hear it and I write it down. That's the way it works for me. It's never not knock on wood. It's always been there for me. And I had songs in Must Love Dogs, The Weatherman with Nick Cage, and the last one was what's the Robert Downey, Iron Man 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I had a scene where he puts on a record of Jingle Bells, and it's my song. I did well with that, and I had songs on Ray Donovan. I had several songs. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
No, I know that, but I say,
Yeah.
as a music artist, it doesn't say that on your sleeve. It doesn't say that sometimes in your bio. You know,
Well, it's music for hire, so it's not looked on as
but
artistic
it's
by some
still
people.
no, but it's a
I know,
and they're
Actually,
both accomplishments.
I'm proud of it because I could do it quickly, and I had some hits. I was once written up in the New York Times for the first commercial I wrote. It was a solo guitar with like a pad in the back for Wrangler, and it was a really commercial. As far as commercial go, it was a huge hit. And they actually wrote a story about the music in the Times, and they interviewed. I thought that was really something, you know.
Oh yeah.
I like doing it, but that doesn't exist anymore. Music for hire doesn't exist because there's music libraries. They can buy a piece of music cut into 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 30, and 60 for like $6. We used to get like 10 grand to write something. So that's gone. You know, doesn't exist.
That's sad. But at least you were able to take a piece of that pie, you know? I mean,
Oh yeah, and I got a pension from it. You know, thank God.
Deborah Milstein's like, she's like, I never knew this. She's known you her whole life and she didn't even know it. That makes me.
I've been doing this since I'm 5. That's a long time. A lot of things happen, you know. I once got drunk with Del Shannon. Did an oldie show with Jay and the Americans, and he heard the sound check, and he came over to me and he said, "I love your guitar playing. Come on in the dressing room, meet my wife." And he pulls out this jug of like $3 peach schnapps. You know the stuff the bums drink.
Oh yeah.
To be polite, I took a swig, and he said to his wife, "See, honey, we're corrupting youth." And I remember he had rotten teeth, like yellow. And I had to get out of there because the vibe was a little peculiar. I don't know why they wanted me in their dressing room, but and he died like a year later. He killed himself.
Oh yeah.
Very odd. He seemed like such a jolly guy. I'll tell you something. His part of the show, there were like 10 acts. He was the best. Fantastic. From the first song to the last. Great singer. He had a good band, and he just brought it home. I mean, every time. I heard him a few times. He was something, you know. Dion, too. Dion did a good show.
Are you friends with Dion DiMucci?
Not friends. He actually gave me the best piece of touring advice I ever got. He used to open for us with Jay.
Yeah.
And one show, somebody went in the dressing room and took my tape recorder and my camera. I said, "Oh shit!" After the show, man, they took this stuff. And he said, "Let me tell you something. One thing I learned: when you go on stage, bring your wallet and any valuables with you. You put them back at the amp. When you leave the stage, you take them with you." And I did that every tour with Joe Jackson. And I didn't need to. We had guards. We had security. It was pretty. But every time I came out on the stage with my little bag, it's usually like a shopping bag or something, and I put it in back. People in the audience would be like, "What's he doing?" You know, I had my little bag of like a camera or a Walkman, you know, extra picks, strings, guitar that I practiced with. I didn't want to leave it in the back. I'd leave it in back of the amp. It was funny. It was my ritual, and nothing was ever stolen.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Dion. He was good.
That's really cool. So any
Good.
other stories? Now I want to talk about, see, we met Foreigner, and we met him with Kelly Hansen. Of course, Lou Graham wasn't on tour with him.
I know Lou's brother very well, one of my closest friends, Benny
Oh,
Graham,
really?
the drummer.
Wow. Now, do you think that if you had a chance to be with Foreigner?
Oh, in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they an amazing band? They were just an amazing band, too.
Very good. He sang at Ben's wedding. He sang "I Want to Know What Love Is" in a church with an organ. It was amazing.
Oh, wow.
Really an amazing performance. A nice guy. I met him. And the other brother, there were 3 of them. The other brother plays guitar. But Benny's an old friend. Great drummer. Great drummer. We played hundreds of jingles together. We were like a house rhythm section. So I saw Benny every day. A sweeter man never existed. A nice guy. Really good guy. And his wife we knew well from Staten Island. So yeah, it's a small business. You know?
Ian was in the band originally in the 70s, and he was a keyboard player, I believe, or
Who?
Ian.
Oh, Ian.
I forget. I don't know if it's Ian McDonald. I think that's his last name. I'm trying to remember from the album cover.
I don't remember.
Al
Breakfast.
Greenwood was another guy, but these guys were all from your area. A lot of them were. Mick Jones was, I think, the only one from the UK.
Yeah, yeah. He lived on the Upper West Side, though.
But no, I want to talk a
a
little bit
lot.
about the music from the 70s because the songs today, when you listen, and they don't have that same sound. I mean, of course, they're different because they're, it's a different year and a different era, a different sound. But them 70s songs and 60s songs still ring true today. Like, if
You're
you hear
talking
them,
sonic quality or writing quality?
for everything.
Both. Well, it was being invented. Anything that's fresh and being invented. That's why nobody plays like Charlie Parker. He invented it. It was happening at that time. It was in the air. These cats, good friend of mine, John Trinacosta, jazz drummer, lives in Santa Fe. He once gave Buddy Rich a ride from Long Island to New York City. And he was terrified of saying anything. But he's like, "You're a drummer, huh? Huh? Yeah, who do you study with?" And once he told him who he studied with, he's like, "Oh, that's good. He's good. He's a good man." And he started telling stories. He goes, "Well, the reason I get upset," he goes, "when I was coming up, we'd play all day. At night, we'd do our gig. 3 a.m, we'd go back to someone's loft and play. We'd fall out, get up the next day, do it again.
Right.
We played bop all day long. These guys now, they want a certain kind of something on the road.
Yeah.
They want to be, So I understand when he got mad and started screaming at his band, it's because he cared so much. A good friend of mine, great trumpet player, Mike McGovern, passed away a couple of years ago. I said, "What was it like working for him?" He goes, "He was serious." He goes, "When he got on that bandstand, the only thing that mattered was the music." He said, "You could say what you want about him, but everyone was life or death. Every solo, he had to." Did you ever see the solo? He has a heart attack during the solo.
No, I never. Is it on YouTube?
Check it out. Concert for the Americas. They usually have his solo, just a solo. And in the middle of it, you see him like, and his daughter says, "I saw this." And I said, "Something's wrong with Dad. Get an ambulance ready." And he played the most amazing solo. And at a point where he's really having trouble breathing, he broke it down to that hi-hat trick he did, where he played on the bottom of,
Yeah.
which is impossible. He had the stick bounce against gravity. I talked to drummer friends. I said, it's so hard to do. But for him, that's what he did to catch his breath. And then you see him like steel himself, and all hell breaks loose. And he does the Buddy Rich thing. And he went off stage and collapsed. They took him into an ambulance. But man, he made it through the solo. It's one of his best solos. He was old, too. So I have respect for that. That's dedication. We once gave Maynard Ferguson, the high note player, a ride from Long Island to the city. And that was hysterical. It was like out of a movie. He says, he's like this all the time. He smiled, he was like a meditation guy. He belonged to some, and he took acid and stuff. And he'd go like this constantly. So he gets in the car, he goes, "I don't want to talk about the past. Everyone wants to talk about the past. I want to talk about the future." He said, "Maynard, man, whatever you want. You don't have to say anything. We're giving you a ride." So about 3 minutes passed. He goes, "I was born in a French whorehouse in Canada." And he started. He told us his whole life stories. He told us these inside dope on certain musicians who played good, who didn't play good when the mic wasn't on, who this, that. And he was unbelievable. And 2 hours of this. We're hearing the whole history of his life. We're beside ourselves. I love that stuff. And he gets out of the car. We drop him off at the plaza. He sticks his head in the window. He goes, and we died. We couldn't stop. We couldn't drive. We had to stop and catch our. I love that. Only in New York you'd catch these things. You know who Roy Eldridge is?
Sure.
Yeah. One night, I used to go to Bradley's. They had piano duos, piano and bass. I loved it. I'd go every night. One night, he's sitting next to me, at the table next to me, and we had gone there with a French guy and a woman we met at a jam session. I said, "We're going to take you to see some real jazz." And so, of course, the musicians knew Roy. So in the middle of the set, the guy said, "Come on, Roy, play one." And Roy goes, "No, I got to play one." So he stood up at his table, took his horn out next to me, a foot away, and played an amazing solo. He's like 85.
Yeah.
And the French guy's going, Roy Eldridge, didn't speak a word of English. We gave him the best night of his life, this guy.
Wow.
And the whole place went nuts for Roy. It was like, that's a magical moment will never happen anywhere else, ever in my life. I'll never have that proximity to greatness and to hear it. It's really something, you know?
Just to
Those guys.
just to be around that. And Vinny is
Yeah.
like, you know, and I'm going to let you go in a couple minutes. This is a comment.
Okay, it's fun. This is fun.
I mean, I'm enjoying this a lot, but I just want to tell you what happened with me in my life. Is I was actually a trumpet player for 14 years.
Oh, really?
And I played predominantly, I played high and low, both in and out with the good limp and everything. And my neighbor, I believe his brother-in-law was somebody on the Tonight Show band with Ed Shaughnessy.
Oh, really?
And he came out and saw us do a concert. This was, I believe, this was junior high, when I was in junior high. And he says, "Kid, you're good." He says, "I can hear you. You're loud. You're right on the note. Your pitch is perfect." He's like, "Come out to the Tonight Show band. Come meet Ed Shaughnessy and I." And I'm a kid. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I didn't believe him. He was actually offering me a job to come out there and audition.
Wow.
For the Tonight Show band. That's when Johnny Carson was super big, you know? And I didn't believe him. I just said, nah, it can't be. So I did baseball, came home the next night, and I seen him on the Tonight Show band playing tenor sax. And I says, "Isn't that the Lanny, the guy that did that
What's
just
his
asked me to be on the band?" Lanny. I forget his last name. But if you look at the Tonight Show band, you'll see him. He plays tenor sax. He's on the third and the
Well, I got one more story for you. I did the Tonight Show with Joe Jackson. Yeah. So our experience is this: we get there early, and we're waiting backstage. Of course, I turned the corner. It's something that happens to me a lot in my life. I slammed right into Johnny Carson, knocked him to the ground. Like, I have a way of turning a corner. Sometimes I did that once. I ran into Meg Ryan in the city, Rita Wilson. I just, for some reason, I'm not good with corners, and it wasn't bad bumping into Meg Ryan. But actually, Johnny was on the ground, and he was an incredibly shy man. He was horrified, not that he felt that he might have to say something to me. So we're back there, we're waiting to go on, and it's like something out of a movie. Ed McMahon is really drinking. He's really getting loaded.
Yeah.
Doc's doing like these tantric breathing exercises. Johnny is talking to a stagehand, sipping a cup of coffee. Nothing, like nothing. And they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Carson." He puts the cup down, walks out, right? Does the show, we play, and the band was really shitty to us when we came in. Well, I had really like big hair, and I had like a shirt that was like ripped on one side. I was really like getting into the experimenting with the wardrobe and stuff. Hey, I was on stage in front of thousands of people.
Right.
I can't look like an idiot, you know, but it was a good band, except Shaughnessy was god awful. And he was the one giving me the dirtiest looks. His time was terrible. But the trumpet section, that was the best trumpet section. Amazing. And Doc was amazing. But Johnny read the whole show from cue cards. I couldn't believe it. All those great ad-libs, all written out. And he finishes the show. You have to understand, he pulled in a half hour before the show started.
Right.
With his car, pulled right into the studio. And when he's waving goodnight to the people, right outside, he's been there at least less than 2 hours. And was getting like, what, $2 million a year? And he gets in the car. And then on the highway, somebody's beeping, and it's him. He's waving at our bus. You couldn't believe it, you know? But he requested the song that Joe did, and it was a good performance. We were good. It was a thrill. I mean, Johnny Carson was giant. So like those old guys on the park benches, you know, talking about stories.
So we're going to end it because I told you now, I don't want to give you any longer.
Right, that's good.
It's up to you. So can you give any comments or suggestions, especially for your new stuff coming out, where people can find you if they want to buy your music, even your old stuff? I mean,
well, my music you can buy on CD Baby, some of it on Amazon, all of it on iTunes. But the best way, if you want to buy my music, contact me on Facebook or ask Doc for my email address. He'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
I can always offer it at a better price, and I sign them, and I develop a relationship with the people who buy it. It's always fun. You know, I include bonus cuts. I'll sign things. Once in a while, I'll find an artifact like a Zummo's pin that I throw in there with the order. But I have 8 albums out, and I offer them all for $45, postage included.
That's awesome.
So,
that's a great deal.
And I've never had a complaint. People like my albums when they buy them, even if they've never heard of me. I've always gotten positive response. There's a couple of idiots who say, "Oh, you're ripping off the Beatles," but who isn't? You know?
Hey, Vinny, let me do this. I'm gonna contact you because I think I know somebody that really love your music, and I
Cool.
would love
And
to.
check my videos out on YouTube. I got a ton of videos.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, the Beatles ones are really awesome too.
That's Tim Ross makes them. He's a
I
genius
love them.
from the Apology Nun, the cartoon band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout
he's
out to.
an amazing partner in that. And I have a guy, Scott Wills, does my covers. He's brilliant. He's out of Chicago. If you have a look at my covers closely, and he does them, they're usually his first try, which, if you know me at all, I don't approve anything first try. I'm hard to work for. This guy, anything he sends, it's perfect, always. So Scott Wills in Chicago does my album covers. He's great. We even have John Sebastian's on a couple of the albums. And I used one of his wife's pictures. She's a very talented artist. And I used it on Swinging Guitar Sounds Volume 3. My picture is over something that she made.
Right.
You check it out sometime. So this is a lot of fun. I had fun.
Well, we can come back anytime. You just
Good.
know. I mean,
Yeah, let's do it again in a couple of weeks. Let some time. They're sick of us now.
sick of us.
You know, I had a radio show a couple of years ago.
I heard. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
Couldn't do it anymore. It was I don't even remember the name of it. I wanted to turn like rock and pop fans onto jazz. And so I introduced them to things that were not too threatening. I had guests on, some great, like Mike Ladon, the great organist, pianist, my friend John Trinacosta, Paul Ballenbach, the guitar player, great guitar player. I had a bunch of guys, Mike Clark, the drummer. And you know what? You get them talking about it. They let the hair down. You hear some great stories.
Yeah, you do.
And I played them some cuts, and they'd play one of theirs. I'd play one of mine. And little by little, a lot of the people who tuned into the show became fans of the music as well. There's nothing wrong with liking pop and rock music. But if I could have people listen to a wider variety of music, I think that's good. But I just couldn't do a fresh show every week. And they weren't airing it a lot. It was, most of the time, people tune in and it wasn't airing. They'd have some trouble with the hookup. So I couldn't do that. You know, I'd have some heavyweights tuning in to see it, and there was nothing there.
That's a problem with technology because even though you want everything to go well, we still rely on the Wi-Fi signal. We still rely on the audio. We still rely on the video. And if it all goes well, it's great. But if all doesn't go well, nothing comes out of nothing.
Well, the people that ran the station, they didn't find it upsetting when the show didn't air, which I couldn't. It's like, how can I promote this and have people come to see it if there's a good chance they're not going to be able to hear it? You know, and so I just said, I can't do that. I just can't play Russian roulette with a radio show because it's a lot of work to make one.
Yeah, I know, because you get the guests. Believe me, I know what you're talking
you know
about.
better than me. And you know how to do it. I was flying by the seat of my pants. But at the time, I was recovering from left-hand surgery. So it was perfect. It was musical, but I didn't have to pick up an instrument. You know, and I heard some great stories, especially when the mics were off.
Yeah.
Mike Clark, if you ever get a chance on Facebook, he's got the best stories of anybody. He's got really good musician stories. We all have our stories we can't repeat, but someday off the air, I'll tell you a few beauties.
Oh yeah, anytime. You got my number. I called you. You can call me anytime.
And I am in touch with Joe. I just don't think he'll be using me anytime soon. You know, that's my whole thing I was trying to show before. We're friends. You know, we have a relationship. It's very clear he's onto something else. And that's
fine.
cool.
That's fine.
Cool.
Listen, I respect that people don't want to go back to music. You know, I respect people don't want to do certain things. I don't want.
You know, I heard a cut off Big World. What? Not Big World. Big World. When I was doing a Beatle interview with somebody. You know, Robert Rodriguez. He does Beatle shows. We were doing a special on George Harrison, and in between, he was playing some Joe stuff. I hadn't heard it since we recorded it, and I wrote him and I told him how much I liked hearing it, how fresh it sounded, how good it sounded. I thought it would be a good idea to do a series of shows with different bands by him, but he didn't think that was a good idea. So it became very clear. All right, we had that thing, we played. I was there 7 years. It's fine. We move on. I still respect him. I think he's an amazing talent. I will still run things by him, you know, when I need a musical opinion, because he's always honest, brutal. I mean, like, there's no like trying to tiptoe around your feelings. Listen, that's crap. if he doesn't like it, or if he likes it. I know when he likes something,
Yeah.
it's really something. It's got to be really good. But hey, he did more for my career than anybody. He got me a record deal. He got us a record deal with A&M. No one else ever did that for me.
That's awesome.
If he never did anything else, that's fine. So,
Well, Vinny, you got
great to see you.
best is yet to come, my friend. Contact
we'll see.
anytime you need me. You send me sweepers whenever you want. Don't forget Deborah Milstein. She's still out there watching, listening. She was really happy with the interview, I hope. We got to give her a shout out. And her show, Crystal Cavern.
Yeah.
We still play your music on Crystal Cavern as well.
That's great. It comes out at a time that I'm always busy doing something. It's
Okay.
like my peak time of the day. Did you want me to do a little Listen to Hamilton radio thing for you?
It's up to you. You don't have to, whatever you want to do. You can send it to me. You can put me, whatever you want to do.
I'll do both. I'll do something now you could use. Hi, everyone. This is Vinnie Zummo. Listen to Hamilton Radio. Docg presents. Doc plays my music all the time. And check out my album, Swinging Guitar Sounds of Young America. Check out my album, Swinging Guitar Sounds of Young America, Volume 3. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, man. And listen, every time I hear slice of pizza, I got to have a slice of pizza. So
That's
it does work. It does work.
Unfortunately, the pizzeria that I wrote that song for is not good anymore. Breaks my heart. My world favorite pizza from the time I'm 6 years old.
I'm sorry.
Went downhill. So I have to find new places. It's terrible.
I'm sorry. Well, have a great night, man.
Have a slice for me.
Great. I will. Thank you. And
take care. Thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
A lot of fun.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.